So as with everything in MySport, we've looked to seriously streamline the way that you operate and run your organizations, and scheduling is definitely one of the areas that we've focused on. So in scheduling, we've got 3 parts to it, and the way that it works is in the details section, you add things like the number of teams in the comp that you want, the start date for the competition, you can select frequency for games, and I'll go through this in a second. Rounds is where you can actually look at the specific rounds that we've then set out for this competition based on what we've put here. And then review is just a very quick look over the competition, just to give you an idea of when the games are scheduled, and the different court and venue allocations that we've got for each of them. So under details, what we first have to do is set a total number of teams for this competition. And if we don't have any registrations, which we can check down the bottom under team list by clicking this drop down, if we don't have any registrations, we can put in some schedule filler teams. So I'm going to select, I want 8 teams in this competition. I click plus. We'll give that a second and we'll notice that this number increases. And if we click this drop down, it's loading in some schedule spot teams for us. So these obviously aren't real registrations, but they are just going to allow us to schedule in a spot. And then when a team registers, it's going to take the spot of the first schedule team that it finds. So we've got 8 teams. I'll just close this again. We're going to select the start date as Monday, the 1st of June. And we're going to say 12 rounds. We're actually going to say 10 rounds, not including finals. Fixture frequency is a new feature that we've added where you can select different frequency for your competition. So if it's a multi-day comp, you can have it over, we could have 10 rounds over a few days. If it's a daily comp, we could have 10 rounds over one day. Weekly comp, obviously we just want games per week, but we can actually then decide to add a different number of games per week. So it doesn't, just because you select weekly, it doesn't mean it has to be 1 game per week. We can actually select 2 games per week. And if I select 2 games per week, because there's a 10 round competition and we're playing 2 games a week, obviously 10 divided by 2 means that it's going to be a 5-week competition. And we can confirm that by looking at our exclusion dates. And this is something that generates automatically based on the start date, the total rounds, and how many games per week you want to play. And essentially this is the rounds that we're going to have for the competition. So we said we wanted to start on the 2nd of June. That's our first round. We play 2 games per week. So our second round is the 9th, then the 16th, then the 23rd, then the 30th. And if this was the way that I want to set up the comp, which it isn't, I could select, let's go back and we'll add 1 game per week. And when I click away from that, it's now going to update and give us 10 rounds because we are just doing 1 game a week, 10 rounds, that's 10 weeks. If I wanted to, I can actually select the date in here to skip. So let's say that the 7th of July was school holidays. If I select that, it's not going to schedule games on that week and it'll automatically skip to the next week. But we're going to leave that blank for now. Now, how long is each time slot is just the duration of the entire time slot. So that's the actual game itself. That's the changeover between the teams and any interval. So we're going to say that that's 45 minutes. We can now select a venue that we've set up or connected to our account. So we'll select Ballina Sports Centre for this, and then we select what courts we want this competition to be played on. So I'm going to select court 1 and 2, and this is probably quite a slow approach to doing it. Once you've done it a few times, you'll get really quick with it. But essentially this is setting up all of the different rounds we want in our competition and the information for them. Once we're happy with that information, we can then click generate rounds. It'll take a second. Just give it a moment to load, and it's going to push out the rest of the rounds for us here. So we have this screen just because you might want to update or edit an individual round in there. Looks like all the dates are pretty good for us. I think it's actually accidentally scheduled an extra round. And now we can select the start and finish time for each of the rounds. Obviously we don't have to go through and do this individually, but we're going to say it's 5:30 each. For this competition, we want each game to kick off at 5:30 or each round to kick off at 5:30. We want the games to run through to at least 7:30. They may not run through to that point, but that's just sort of giving us a range to work within. And if we wanted to add in, and then once I've done that, if I want to set the same start and finish time for every round, I just click this one, and then I'll set all my start times to 5:30 for each round. Click this one, and that sets all my end times to 7:30. I can, of course, go in and edit any of these if I need to. And if it's got finals, this competition, we click this button here. We select how many teams we want to go through to the finals. Let's say it's just semi-finals. Select the type. And that then gives us 2 additional rounds in here, which we can then select resources for, venue resources for, start and finish times for, and obviously dates for. But I'm going to get rid of those just because we just want to schedule in the rounds for this example. Now, if we wanted to add a manual round, we could just add an additional round there, and we can then update the name of the round just by clicking on it and changing the round name. So we've done basically all the hard work now. We're going to click continue. This will actually probably take anywhere between 10 and 20 seconds to generate, so it'll give us our first few rounds quite quickly. We don't really need to do anything here, but it will take anywhere between 10 and 20 seconds to load. There we go, it's given us all our rounds here. We can skip through this. We've got 10 rounds there. We'll click continue. We don't actually have to change anything. And then that's going to generate our fixtures for the competition. And we can see here now for the Premier League men's, we've got round 1, 4 games, 2 at 5:30, 1 on court 1, 1 on court 2. Same then for 6:15, court 1 and court 2, and so on and so forth. Now with, obviously this isn't the whole competition, we scheduled in 10 rounds, but it's just going to show 10 fixtures initially. So what we can do here, if we want to see more, is click 50 or click 25, and it's going to show us a certain number of rounds for this competition. And as you would have seen just then when I accidentally clicked on the fixture, if you want to edit any of these fixtures individually, if you want to go in and add a score for any of these fixtures or update any of the details just for one of them, all we need to do is click on that fixture. It'll bring up the edit a fixture pop-up, and we can then go through and update that information, which includes the home team, away team, the home score and away score. And we've got a really cool email that we've added for any updates or changes, where it actually gives all the information of the change to the fixture. And big thank you to Vinny for giving us a heads up about that feature. Now, if you do want to delete any of your fixtures at any point, you just click this button up in the top right-hand corner. And now what I'm going to do is just register a few teams in this competition, and then we're going to see what it looks like to be able to edit all of our fixtures at once, and some cool new tools that we've added to that part of the system to really help you with your scheduling.